Every one of us has used learning manuals, either in schools, in language classes, and so forth. But have you ever asked yourself if a language learning manual is actually a good learning material? If we look at research, we may find out that this is not the case. First, let me ask you a question. What do you think? In a usual language learning manual, how many words and sentences in there are such that you can actually use in your daily conversations to write, to speak, to understand the language? And even more so, do you know that the method that usual language learning manuals are using is efficient? Now, the first thought that might come to your mind is that, well, language learning manuals are created by professional teachers, hence they must make sense. Otherwise, why would they do it? Now, let me challenge that thought a little bit. Now, we have researched this topic for years, and what I can tell you is that if you open a random English language learning manual from the middle, so let's say it's a book for beginner English, then what you will see in these pages is words and sentences which don't help you optimally start speaking the English language, because we see in our research that on those 2 pages, around 60 to 70% of the words and sentences there are not optimal for the beginner level. These words and sentences will become useful later, but for your beginner level, they are too difficult and not enough useful to learn them in this beginning phase. Now, what do I mean when I say that a word or a sentence is not useful enough? Number one, most of the words and sentences in usual learning manuals are not the statistically most relevant words and sentences. Hence, they are not the words and sentences you should be using to start speaking the language faster. And 2, because you are not learning the most important words and sentences, therefore, your progress will be slower. Now, you might ask, how is this possible? Why are language learning manuals not created in such a way that they would contain the most relevant words and sentences of the English language, for example? Now, the answer to this question is fairly simple. In the education sector, especially, things have been done in a certain way for centuries, and nothing actually has been improved in the methodology part, because most of language learning still happens based on topics. Now, what do I mean by topics? You have experienced this for sure in your language classes when you went to school or a language school, for example. Approaching the language through topics is learning a certain topics like weather, family, kitchen, utensils, and so forth, and then moving to another topic. Now, the problem with topics is that if you are learning about weather, then you will study a lot of words that you don't actually need for real-life conversations. Instead, you should be focusing on what you can actually use. Now, we have researched the usability of words and sentences for now more than 10 years. And what we see when we compare usual learning manuals is that they are vastly less efficient than compared to using Speakly, for example. So if you really want to supercharge your English skills, then go start learning in Speakly. And next time when you open a language learning manual, then keep in mind that most of the words and sentences there are not optimally designed for your level, and they don't optimally help you start speaking the language. They will just fill you with words and sentences and vocabulary that are good to know, but that are not the most vital to keep real-life conversations. So be smart, study with the Speakly app, for example, and you will progress much faster in your English studies.